Hello, and welcome to episode 44 of Expertise is Overrated, the podcast that takes the time to answer the questions you didn't know you didn't want the answers to. I'm Vib.
And I'm Sean, and neither of us has any clue what we're talking about. We've completely canned tinfoil, so there's nothing standing between us and the meat of the episode, which is completely terrifying.
I tried to convince you that you had something tinfoil worthy, but you shot me down.
Don't
but the
start.
listeners know what I'm talking about.
No one's got in touch yet.
I know my truth.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah, I'm just trying to stall because I've got no idea.
So, if we've done our timing right, Hogwarts Legacy will have released today as the listeners listen to this.
Yeah, well, I've got conflicting information. I thought the release date was the 13th of February, but then from their own website, it says the 10th.
Well, yeah, I guess.
So
Oops.
if it's not out today, it's been out for only a couple of days, which still means that we are really punctual.
A lot more a lot more current than we usually were. But this is good. This is the sort of change that we've been promising.
Exactly. Be the change you want to see in the world. Punctual reporting. Not our usual delayed gratification.
That's true.
Gratification, is that even the right word?
I don't think anyone has ever been gratified listening to us. We should both stop stalling. So, Hogwarts Legacy. What is Hogwarts Legacy?
Well, from the mouth of the whatever, I forgot the saying halfway through saying it there.
From the horse's mouth.
That's the one. Oh, this is going to be a great episode, isn't it? Good grief. And I'm not even the one drinking whiskey. Anyway, from the horse's mouth, Hogwarts Legacy is an immersive open-world action RPG set in the world first introduced in the Harry Potter books. For the first time, experience Hogwarts in the 1800s. Your character is a student who holds the key to an ancient secret that threatens to tear the wizarding world apart. Now you can take control of the action and be at the center of your own adventure in the wizarding world. Your legacy is what you make of it. What a terrible last line there, but
that tells me nothing.
I know it's an open world action RPG, but then which game isn't anymore? So.
I was going to say, so is every video game ever released?
Yeah, unless it's an indie game nowadays. I think they're all just
open
world action RPGs.
You get open world action RPGs. You get survival crafting, and you get indie platformers. Oh, and roguelikes.
Yeah, the problem is now you get roguelikes with RPG elements and survival games with RPG elements. So.
Yeah, sorry, no, you're absolutely right. Everything is an open world action RPG. So
I've always struggled with the term RPG. I'm going to derail the episode massively here, 2 minutes in.
Good,
but surely all video games have you playing some sort of role, right? You're fundamentally playing a role playing, and you're telling me if I play Mario, which is a platform, I'm not playing the role of Mario.
Oh, that's a really good and confusing point to derail us with 4 minutes in.
Maybe it's sizzle for an upcoming episode that I've just thought of.
All video games are RPGs. I think there is an obvious distinction. I just can't quite point it out.
Anyway, but back to the matter at hand. We'll come back to that once we inevitably run out of steam for this stuff. So Hogwarts Legacy, it's an open world action RPG. Ultimately, it's just the Harry Potter game that I think a lot of people have been wanting for some.
So is this just I make a character and then rock up to Hogwarts on the Hogwarts Express in first year and then play through Hogwarts?
No, it is not that. It's nearly that. But
if it's the 1800s, I might not be on the Hogwarts Express.
When there's that, invented. But more importantly, I think, is you don't start in first year, actually.
Oh, don't you?
You start in fifth year.
I thought that you were playing through all 7 years.
No, that's originally what I thought, and then I very quickly started thinking, that's going to be such a long game, right? And ultimately, let's be real, first year's kind of boring, probably.
It's an immersive open world action RPG. Of course it's going to be long. It's going to have hundreds of hours of content that no one wants to complete. Sorry, bugbear.
No, there's some people who want to complete it because there's always the trophy halls out there.
That's true, there are trophy halls. No, I guess, what am I thinking? I think not doing first year is going to lose you something. And I think...
Well, you still get sorted, because so as I understand it...
How do you get sorted?
Well, you're foreign, so I think you're not originally from the UK. You're a 15-year-old wizard who's come over to the UK. So you join Hogwarts having already had some sort of magical education. I think
that's quite clever. Because
so when you arrive, you still get sorted into your house. You just end up being sorted as a 15-year-old as opposed to an 11-year-old, which in many ways is probably not a bad idea, actually.
No, I think that's probably a much more sensible time to sort people into houses that will define them for the rest of their lives.
Yes, and in the Wizarding world more so than anywhere else, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not been through the UK school system, but houses are a thing in some schools, right?
Yes and no. So yes, I was at boarding school in rural Scotland. So before you ask, yes, I did just go to Hogwarts, and you.
All right, Filch.
You don't really get sorted. Like, that's obviously not a thing, but it's much more just these are the people who have rooms near you.
Yeah.
Like, there's not really traits that go along with it or anything like that, and it's not that big a deal. And certainly, once you leave school, I at least left that behind, and I think most people do.
Yeah, I can't imagine it matters in any real context. As you say, proximity and the people you meet or see more often, perhaps.
Sure, but most of these schools aren't very big either. So, like, I was good friends with people in other houses, and also most of the time, houses are single gender. So, everyone in my boarding house was a boy. Everyone in one of the other boarding houses was a girl. Now, there were a couple of schools when I was in sixth form that were trialing mixed houses in sixth form, and they were just generally an absolute disaster.
Well, you can imagine, right? I mean, even Hogwarts needs magical defenses to make it work.
Yeah, but can we have a very quick conversation? I have no doubt we might come on to this later about how one-sided those magical defenses are.
Oh, it's a complete shambles.
It's so good. Why is it entirely
Hermione
okay?
can just stroll into the boys' dormitory and nothing's happening, but Ron tries to go up the stairs and is instantly evicted.
It's an absolute joke.
Justice for Ron Weasley on so.
I like to think that that's a peculiarity of Gryffindor.
I
don't know why that would be the case, but it's just the case that for some reason Godric Gryffindor was like, yeah, girls, they'll be fine, they won't do anything, but boys, they got to be kept in line. Meanwhile, Ravenclaw's house, everyone's just, it's a bit like Merton College. They don't really care where you are because no one's going to do anything anyway. They're busy studying.
It's funny, I was thinking exactly the same thing. I was like, what house wouldn't care? Oh, yeah, Ravenclaw. Yeah.
Hufflepuff, but for opposite reasons, everyone's just cuddling.
And Slytherin doesn't have any rules anyway. But it's an issue with Hogwarts as a setting, really, isn't it? The houses that people take, put so much stock by that. And
I guess part of it makes sense, right? If you're being sorted by a magical hat that can actually determine your character and your aptitude, then it does make sense to put more stock by people's houses than it does basically someone literally pulling your name out of a hat, as it was, I think, at my school.
True, but I think it
went way that we had a spare bed, actually.
Oh, right. No, but I think the system sort of adversely emphasizes those traits. And of course, you get into a situation where Slytherin has got such a bad reputation. And you know what? If the hat is that smart, you'd think it'd be able to figure out who's evil and who isn't, ultimately.
Yeah, and why don't
you're cunning, but you're also a massive douche.
Yeah.
So
you've got to wonder, you take someone like Draco Malfoy, and this is a bit of sort of Draco revisionist history I'm not particularly fond of, but imagine if Draco had ended up in the Hufflepuff or Gryffindor. But Gryffindor, because ultimately he does behave in a brave fashion in certain circumstances.
But that's the real problem with Gryffindor House.
Everyone's brave at times.
Throughout the series, we've seen examples of bravery from everyone, I think.
Yeah.
So if that's your defining feature, I don't really... Don't really know.
I don't think the houses are particularly coherent. But anyway,
Well,
the idea.
between Dumbledore and Hermione Granger, who are two of the most able and actually clever wizards and witches. Doesn't really work if there's any one of them. But you know what I'm trying to say? They ended up in Gryffindor, even though if you take their sort of key characteristics, you would think maybe that was wrong. Anyway, there's a whole episode, I think, on Hogwarts houses and the bullshit.
There is, but the idea of my concern was that we were going to not get that welcome to Hogwarts. This is your first time walking into the Great Hall moment. So starting as a fifth year, I was worried that they wouldn't be able to convey that your character was experiencing that moment. Obviously, you as a player would be, but there'd be a massive disconnect there. So I like that they've found a way around that while not, as you say, just dropping you into first year.
That's but it does sort of open you up to, if this was a student at another magical school, and I can't remember if that is the case or if he was just a muggle for way longer than normal. Because there was, I remember the original trailers, it was like, oh, you have to catch up. So not sure about that.
I suspect that you're a muggle who discovers they're a wizard late, because then they can do tutorialization as catch-up remedial lessons. That would be a way to do that.
Yeah, I think that's right. So yeah, I think you should still get that introduction to the magical world, right?
That's really which is, I think, so important. And as we've discussed previously, it's what makes the first few Harry Potter films, at least, so good, is that wild introduction to a magical world.
And the books as well. I mean, the whole first book is essentially that storyline, isn't it? It's like, oh,
yes,
this exists and it's really cool. And also child abuse, but
there's some nasty themes that run through them. But there's a whole series of episodes on the uncomfortable themes running through Harry Potter.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we can.
Some by design, some maybe less so.
Yeah, I'm sure we can cover that at some point.
But I think, so I mean, I don't want to speak for you, even though I so often feel I need to. We're quite excited, I think, for Hogwarts Legacy, right?
I think I am. I think I've not done very much checking it out, so excited with an element of trepidation, just because video games are all bad at the moment. Almost.
Well, you have the added issue that your time is so
exactly
because your timekeeping skills are non-existent.
That's the biggest issue. That's certainly the one thing standing between me and some significant video gaming time is me, as opposed to any factors out with my control.
Yes, obviously. So I guess then it's fair to say that it's not so prominent that it's risen to the top of the list of a sort of, I must play this.
No, but I'm not sure that I've got anything on that list at the moment. I think that's
Fallen Order, I imagine.
Well, except for Fallen Order, or was it?
Jedi something. I don't know what it's called.
Yes, the Fallen Order sequel, which is on my must-play list, but it's currently, I'm fairly sure, the only game on that list, and it's not out yet, and it's not coming out until something like March or April.
Yeah, that's fair. But whereas for me, I have been sort of looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy because, I mean, it's like I said before, it's a game that I've just wanted for so long.
And I at least played 2/3 of the Harry Potter games on a variety of consoles.
2/3 is very specific. Well, I mean, the glory days of PS2 and stuff. Yeah,
I didn't play them all. Is my point. I fell off around about, I don't remember which it was, 5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah, like the films, they got progressively more just shooting laser beams out of wooden sticks.
They did, and I had one of them on the Wii, which was just completely incoherent because you cast spells by waving the Wii remote around.
But that sounds hilarious because I bet it's really reliable.
Well, I think, see, that was exactly the point. You'd be in a duel and you just sort of sit there waving your hand around and spell. You had no idea what was coming out of your wand.
Expellicadabra! Oh shit!
Which is, to be fair, how I would be in an actual wizard duel.
Yes, Yes.
So maybe the game was just a really accurate portrayal of how I would
It was
be
a really
in
accurate
the.
game. But
No,
those
so
games were fun. I mean,
I am.
Chamber of Secrets I played a lot of. It was really entertaining.
Yes, Chamber of Secrets is very good on the PS1.
Two, I want to say.
I don't remember. Anyway, the point is, I always enjoyed those games, and I think that with modern computing power and console power, a Hogwarts game done well and one that's not tied to the Harry Potter storyline has a huge amount of potential to be really good.
And I think that was a really great creative decision by the team who made it, setting it in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So, yes, I
what
think
do we
that's
reckon?
the right way, which means that you're not tied to Harry Potter as such. It's a Wizarding World game.
I don't think we'll see any character we recognise.
Well, that's fundamentally untrue, and I can tell you exactly who we will see if you want to know.
Dumbledore?
That I don't know if that has been confirmed. But the headmaster at the time is Phineas Nigellus Black.
Oh!
Worst headmaster of all time, seemingly. So that'll be really interesting.
Okay. Fair enough.
And there is a Professor Weasley. Now, obviously, we don't know that particular Weasley, but the family is there. But Arthur. That kind of makes sense. The Wizarding families are tiny, so...
Yeah, Arthur's great-grandfather
it'll be something along those lines, yeah. And I should also mention that Phineas Black is voice acted by Simon Pegg, which I think is a great choice.
That's so good. That's really good. Okay, so I wasn't wrong, but I was also not correct.
You weren't wrong. No, we're not going to see Dumbledores and McGonagalls, probably.
Yeah, that was exactly my point. We're not going to be tied to, and we now need to bring Minerva McGonagall in. Now we need to bring Dumbledore in, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, you can take everything in an interesting, creative direction, which is... I imagine Professor Binns is still there.
Oh, probably, and a lot of the ghosts will be, but
yeah,
they're minor characters that don't really matter. So they're not going to hopefully fall into the trap that something like Rings of Power would fall into, where you're dealing with characters that are kind of beloved and important to other storylines and arcs.
Yes.
So
why are we both so tentative about this?
The gigantic elephant in the room, huh?
Yeah.
Well, and this is such a shame. I think if this game had come out 5 years ago,
I think that's
there wouldn't be any debate.
Right.
But of course, since then, there's been a huge controversy regarding J.K. Rowling.
I don't know what the best way to characterize it is. Should we give a factual description with as little judgment as possible on what we think has happened?
Yes. You're the lawyer. You can take it away.
So far as I understand it, J.K. Rowling has given a number of interviews in which she has expressed certain views around the validity of the claims of transgender people to be the gender with which they identify rather than the gender of their birth. And essentially J.K. Rowling has disagreed with that as a valid position to take, and her arguments for it I don't propose to go into because that's available for reading on the internet. But it has spiraled out of control, essentially, and when given the opportunity to retract her statements or to clarify her position, she has not done so. Now, I don't believe in this, that she's gone so far as someone like Lawrence Fox has, who has just turned into a raging psychopath. Don't believe she's gone that far, but I am happy to be corrected on that if anyone knows differently.
Likewise, yes. Although I think you're right. I think she's certainly not come out and apologise or contradict. I think
I know for a fact that she hasn't. I believe that she has retrenched her position, but I'm not certain that she's done that. She may just have not engaged with the topic.
There's one tweet that I remember where she really dug down, and as with anything that happens on Twitter, and do follow us at Zero Expertise, but as anything that happens on Twitter, it's usually not done well, because you're not afforded the space to have an argument well. And it just
No,
becomes a lot of name calling and sensationalist
I just
tweeting.
I just got done writing 2,700 words on a contentious topic, and I'm worried I've not done enough about it. Twitter gives you 280 characters.
Yeah, and we should point out that 2,700 for you is already reining it in. I think.
I tried very hard to rein it in.
Well done.
We'll hopefully have an episode on that coming up, but I want to be certain that the dust has settled before we venture
yes,
into
before
that.
you are also cancelled, and I'll be recording my own. I can't wait for the day.
I'm getting so cancelled. I was genuinely asked. We can talk about it properly when we actually talk about it. But I was asked, "Are you sure you want to say this?" Yes. Anyway, I've certainly seen some Twitter posts from J.K. Rowling in which she has suggested that she has been attacked personally, sent heinous messages, and vilified by, as I think she calls them, activists for her beliefs. Yeah. I do not know the truth or otherwise of that, but that is what I am led to believe by tweets that she has posted. I am going to extend something of the benefit of the doubt here and say that everything that I have seen her saying, at least until recently, was in relation to safety and welfare of...
Yeah, that's my understanding of it as well.
Essentially abused women.
Yeah. Which is something she's been
well, she was herself a victim
for some time.
Yeah, she was herself a victim of abuse, so one can understand her position somewhat, or at least one can understand her starting point. I should be clear. But this has led a lot of people to debate, I think, particularly in relation to both Cursed Child and the Fantastic Beasts films. How should we engage with new Wizarding World and Harry Potter media in general? Now, in the case of the Fantastic Beasts films, that's really easy because they're all shit. So the answer is just
it's funny how that works out. The directors are like, well, we can solve this issue. We'll just make them really terrible. Even though they cast some phenomenal actors, the script is just so dead. It's quite tragic, really. Yes, but as you say, it's creating issues. And the reason I thought this was an interesting topic is because I have seen tweets and articles and whatnot from people who were erstwhile Harry Potter fans, who I think ordinarily would have been very excited by the prospect of a Harry Potter game, but in the wake of the stuff that she has said online, have said, well, you can't possibly... You can't play this game, and you would deem anyone who does play this game... that wasn't really English, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I know. Yeah.
Anyone who plays this game is sort of siding with her side of the argument that's being had. I think that's possibly the baseline that we're coming from here.
That's the concern. I think the discussion around these topics is so heightened that if one of us were to tweet really enjoying Hogwarts Legacy, that statement will not be taken in isolation.
No,
I think that's certainly my concern.
It is, and especially coming on top of all that from cis hetero males,
and this was
it's not our place to have this argument.
No, and to be completely clear, I don't propose that we have this argument, but I think
not at all. No.
I think what we can do is talk about personally whether or not we feel comfortable playing it, and sort of see where we go from there. But I think as probably comes across over the microphones, this is a topic about which we're both very uncomfortable because, as Vib said, neither of us has a great deal of experience in this area. We are both cishet white men, and this is the some of my friends are black excuse. I have a very small number of transgender friends, but that number is very small. So I am reliant upon people to take what I say in good faith and to correct me when I misstep, but to recognise that any missteps come from a place of ignorance rather than prejudice, I guess. I don't have any other way of putting it than that.
I think that's absolutely right, and I've spent time sort of figuring out how to voice what you've just said in this episode as well, because it just comes from a place of, like, I'm supportive of the whole movement. Be who you want to be and who you are, but it's so hard to just have that without having any sort of horse, in the race. Man, I'm really messing up idioms today. I'm barely speaking English.
You got that one right.
Yeah,
come
sort
on.
of. It didn't feel right.
Stick yourself together. Come on.
I think I'm having a hypo here. No, that's you, isn't it?
That's my excuse. Back off.
It's this really strong tea I've been having. No, it just goes to highlight the sort of depth I find myself at here in this topic. I'm so far out of it. But yeah, it's I'm supportive, but that doesn't really mean anything to anyone because I can say it, and that's sort of all I'll do.
Yes, yeah. You can say I'm supportive and I'm an ally, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
If you're also sitting down to play Hogwarts Legacy for 2 hours.
Exactly.
I think my fundamental position is that those two ideas can coexist in a head. For me, I think they can coexist in my head. Because I think, personally, and I'm not saying anyone else should think as I think, this is purely me, J.K. Rowling is not the only person who made Hogwarts Legacy. I would venture her involvement was to sign on a dotted line to say that they can make it, and that was it.
Yeah, and I can't remember really from the trailers that one. I think the original ones did sort of flash her name up quite prominently, but I know that the Fantastic Beasts films have really got a habit now of making her name as small as possible.
It's no longer J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, is it? Or is it? But the graphic is such that it doesn't look like it's hers.
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's a bit like saying, I guess maybe the various universes from Games Workshop might be a good analogy. Like, someone obviously had the original idea, or maybe a group of people. But since then, it's Black Library authors like Dan Abnett who are taking that forwards.
Yes.
So this whole concept of, oh yeah, but it was originally this person's idea, and therefore we should hold the whole franchise accountable because of that one person's beliefs potentially. I'm not sure that's necessarily a healthy view on things.
I think that's right. I also think it's important to recognise, again, just for me, I think it's important to recognise that when J.K. Rowling wrote and published Harry Potter and the insert title here, she was just some Scottish single mother who was writing books in a cafe.
Yeah.
That she didn't have this global platform. She may well have had views that people didn't agree with, but people didn't know about them. And she was releasing books that, at least for me, and I think probably for you as well, although obviously I'm speaking for myself, not for you, played a huge part in my childhood.
Yes.
And it's very, very difficult to now turn around and say, well, those books that I read during my formative years over and over and over and over again, I now need to engage with in a completely different way because I kind of can't.
It's difficult, isn't it? And maybe at one point we need to have a discussion about the likes of Lovecraft and.
I think Lovecraft is a phenomenal example here, actually. I think that's really, really good because very few people know about how representable a human being H.P. Lovecraft was.
Or Walt Disney.
Disney.
And it's that in Walt Disney's case, it's really bloody obvious from the works as well.
True.
So,
to be fair, it's also very fair from Lovecraft.
That's actually true. Yeah. Whereas I'd argue maybe in Rowling's work, it's not.
if you go back and look at some of J.K. Rowling's works with a critical eye, there are some quite nasty things in there, specifically about it's sort of some melding of class and race.
Yeah, there is that.
The goblins
Yeah.
are a pretty difficult thing to get over. But
then in the same sort of books, you have someone like Hermione who's trying to change that particular status quo, right? So it feels like it serves a purpose in the plot.
I think there is a benefit of doubt that could have previously been extended that is currently hard to extend.
Yeah.
But person...
I feel to J.K. Rowling's credit, quote unquote, and again, as Sean said earlier, if we are out of bounds here, please do let us know, because we don't do this to not further ourselves.
I would have no objection to receiving an email that says you guys are wrong, and here's why.
Yes, absolutely.
But that "and here's why" is so fundamental to us coming to understand why we're wrong, if we're wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think to her credit, I feel no matter how badly she tried to ultimately do these sort of things, she did engage with the discussions about, for example, Dumbledore being gay and that sort of thing. And I feel she's always been at the heart of a lot of discourse on modern topics that are important things to talk about. Feminism. She's an activist for domestic abuse and that sort of thing, and these are all admirable causes. Yes. I don't think she can just be lightly brushed aside as she's just another radical crazy necessarily.
That's true. That's true.
Does that mean she's right about some things she said? No, of course not. But as we've said before, I don't think we're the people to judge. But this is an ongoing thing ultimately.
I think it's important as well. Everything that you say is right. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you've just said. It is entirely possible for a person to hold a single awful view and otherwise be a progressive person.
Yeah.
I have known, I'm going to slightly exaggerate here, I used to work with someone who was a huge gay rights advocate, a huge women's rights advocate in the workplace, and also just racist.
Yeah.
Like, they were just racist.
Yeah.
It was as simple as that. There was no two ways about it. They were just a racist man. But that was the sort of only thing, quote unquote, wrong with them. And
yeah, it's just unfortunately that's quite a big thing.
It's a big thing, but the fact of their racism doesn't cancel out the good work they did in promoting sort of women's rights and gay rights in the workplace. But nor do those outweigh the fact that they were a massive racist. Those two ideas, again, as something I said earlier, those two ideas can coexist in a person's head.
Yeah.
And a person is the sum of who they are. They're not exclusively one thing.
Yeah, but I think that's really important in terms of the issue we're trying to discuss here. Like, can we
sound
enjoy
like Stannis Baratheon? Sorry, I've just basically quoted Stannis Baratheon.
Have you?
Well, he says, a good act does not wash out the bad, nor a bad act the good. A man is the sum of his parts. Which, ugh.
That's actually phenomenal. I'm writing that down. Sean is Stannis.
I think I might have to give you that one, because I also spend quite a lot of time on the internet calling Stannis Baratheon an incel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, equals incel. There you go. That's a three-way.
I might have to own that one. Anyway, I think the point.
Yeah, no, I think the point is, yes. If we balance that, that she's ultimately a person who has opinions, some of which may be wrong, some of which may be right. I feel that is separate to the creative work that has arisen as a result of her pen. Especially now, as we've said before, like, this is so far past Harry Potter the books.
Yeah.
It's a universe that other creators and video game makers and producers and a whole team of visual effects people and who knows what else. I mean, I'm sure it's a credit list that's miles long. for them, I'm sure it's a labor of love. And I'm sure they don't go into work thinking about these issues we've just talked about every single day in terms of, JK is such a bad person, I really agree with it, whatever. They're just making a great game, hopefully.
It's also entirely possible that they do go into work thinking about this every day, and they wrestle with it every day, and they're struggling to reconcile the fact that this is their labor of love, this is their magnum opus, but the label on it is one that they find distasteful, and almost it's a slightly unhelpful conclusion to come to, but maybe it's just for everyone to make up their own mind what they're comfortable with.
As is the case for so many things, right?
And it's also okay, I think, to make up your mind that you're not okay with other people playing it. I think.
I think so. I think
that you have to recognise that people might disagree with you, and I'm straying towards territory I don't really want to get into, because as you said, it's not for us to judge. It's not for us to determine.
No, but I think what I will say is that open discourse is absolutely crucial to making society work.
Yes.
Right. So if you do have a particular view on something, just discuss it. Have the verbal argument in a nice and civilized manner. And then if there is a genuine conclusion or a correct answer, which I think is quite rare, then hopefully people can agree on that.
I think
and if you disagree on certain things, you can do that in a polite manner and in one that doesn't paint either side as a bigot or a racist or a transphobe or whatever. There are ways of doing these things that highlights the fact that some of these discussions are a bit grey. There's nothing wrong with that.
and yes, completely, 100%. It is entirely possible to be friends with someone that you don't agree with on everything.
If not, it'd be very hard to find friends, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Not only that, it's healthy. See, goes without saying, you and I don't agree with that on everything, but there are a couple of fairly major things that we don't agree on, sort of like philosophically, and we frequently have debates on them, sometimes on this podcast. But we're still
sometimes quite recent.
Sometimes I'm not going to say friends. I mean, we're acquaintances. We put up with each other. But no. So joking aside, we're both richer and more rounded. Well, not richer. This podcast makes us poorer, but we're both sort of better rounded people as a result of those conversations. If you surround yourself in an echo chamber where everyone just agrees with you and no one ever has any debate, no one ever disagrees, you don't learn. Learning is you learn through meeting people and talking to people that you don't agree with.
You learn through debate. You learn through. I mean, I'm a scientist, so for me, it often comes back to if I do an experiment and find X findings, and then a colleague or sometimes a rival, quote unquote, finds Y findings, and they're not, they don't gel well with each other. We don't go online and call each other names. People do that, but that's
and that's really funny when scientists do that because
it is, isn't it? It's just kind of sad. But you're trying to get towards what some people might call a truth through this. It's an iterative process. We're trying to find what is right and what is wrong, and that applies to science. It applies, I'm sure, to law. It applies to the sort of topics that we're discussing now. So there's a way to do it that I think we can make a stand on. But do we know what the answers are and stuff like that? No. Hence, tell us if you do think there is an answer.
Yeah, but I'm gonna set a small piece of homework here. Before you write in to tell us that we're wrong, and I welcome anyone writing in to tell us that we're wrong, sit for 5 minutes and try and make a case for why we're right. Don't tell us what it is. Don't write it down. Don't do anything like that. But just sit for 5 minutes and try and make our case before you make yours, because that is actually the best way to grow an argument, is to make the case for the other side. It's how we do advocacy as lawyers. You don't really finesse your argument until you understand the other side. The best way to understand the other side's argument is to make it.
Yeah. It's also the fundamental premise behind doing empirical science. You come up with a hypothesis and you try to disprove that hypothesis, right?
Yes.
You have to see the other side. You have to see the things that you're not expecting as well. Anyway, so I think off the back of that massive ramble, which I'm sure we've not actually said anything.
We have not in any way, shape, or form moved the needle. But other than
that, can we? I'm talking about you and me now. Can we enjoy Hogwarts Legacy? I think the answer to that is, if it's a good game, yes.
I think that's right.
If it's not a good game, then probably not. No.
I think that's going to be my test. It's not what do people on the internet tell me I should think about it, other than genuine reviews from people that I trust, but much more just, does it look like the sort of game I would want to play? And if I am playing it, I might take slightly more critical view on dialogue, quests, what have you. And
that'll be interesting, won't it? Yeah.
Check that there's nothing in there that I don't agree with in a way that I wouldn't necessarily for other games. But yeah, I think if it's a good game, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, there's some real low hanging fruit with this sort of stuff. The realm of what we're talking about, because I mean, it's a game that will have a character creator, and I know people were talking about this for some time and whatnot. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, and I'm sure there'll be relationships and that sort of thing. So again, those are the kind of things where you might think back to this particular item and go, oh yeah, I wonder how much was influenced by the original creator and whatnot.
I genuinely hadn't considered that, but yes, I think that's.
But yeah, I mean, if it's a quest of like, here, go fetch this magical item, that's just a video game classic. I don't have to think about it much more than that. Yeah,
but you also. So we want to move on. You also don't have to look that much deeper than that. You don't have to go digging through, like, well, maybe if you look at this whole thing through this light, then this, then this, then this. Like, video games aren't necessarily subtle art, and I very much doubt that Hogwarts Legacy is going to be that subtle.
Yeah, well, you see a lot of that with all kinds of media, right? Books, TV shows, films, video games. Yeah. People want to overanalyze. And like with everything, right, that's groundbreaking, there has to be an element of hyperpolarization. I feel I've said that on our show before, to eventually get the sort of the new norm, and I'd like to think that we're always progressing in the right way, although you look at some countries in the world that may or may not be true. But yeah, just enjoy it for what it ultimately is, right? It's when you've had a long week of work and you're tired and you just want to unwind by playing a wizard or a witch or whatever, casting some spells. What more do you want ultimately? It's escapism.
Yes, I completely agree. So
having said that, so we can actually finally move away from this, because I feel we're going to get stuck otherwise.
Let's leave this behind us now.
What would you like from this game?
That's a really good question. Do you know what I don't want? I don't want a crafting system.
Well, you were going to be disappointed.
I know. Well, no, that's not true.
I mean, it's an open world. It's an immersive open world action RPG. Of course, there's a crafting system. What the hell are you talking about?
And that's exactly why I said I didn't want one. I don't mind a crafting system like in, say, Valheim or.
Well, it's actually sort of integral to the game.
Subnautic maybe they're a bad example. Maybe Witcher 3 is a better example, although I don't actually like Witcher 3. I think it's a bad game. But
whoa.
We're coming back to that.
Whoa.
It's a hot take.
Sizzle.
It's a hot take. Witcher 3 is a bad, overrated game. But at least in that, the crafting system is baked into the core gameplay loop of the game-ish. Like 60-70% of it is.
It's things like oils and stuff, right?
Oils and potions, yeah.
They're situational, they're not long-lived. I think Valheim and Subnautica are terrible examples because they're ultimately creative games where you build crazy structures.
There are other open-world RPG games where the crafting mechanic is baked into the core gameplay loop, And I don't mind that being the case for Hogwarts Legacy. So, say it is possible to specialize as a potioneer, right?
Yeah, I think that's
then
right.
that drives you off down a crafting game.
Yeah, potioneer or if you're a herbologist, because I think these are when we talk crafting, I think that's the kind of things I've seen. Is you make your potions.
I don't want to be gathering, 50 strands of tapestry so that I can change the drift on my broom or some shit like that. Sorry.
Yeah. Equally, if they put that in, but it's purely cosmetic or whatever, I'm okay with it because that's just a mechanic that I can ignore.
Fucking sparkles all over my screen, and I'll hate it.
Yeah, but if it's something where, as you described, like, oh, you have to go and collect these 50 strands, otherwise you can't progress, or you can't do this mission, or you won't look jazzy while you do it, and that's really important for reasons. Yeah. That's bad. I agree with you there. I don't want that.
If you're going to put crafting in an open world RPG, the crafting has to both not get in the way of playing the game and separately be core to the game.
Yeah,
I think that's my point, and I'm worried. I get worried when I see immersive open world action RPG. It's not being made by Ubisoft, is it?
No.
Okay, good. Because they're the worst culprits.
I imagine it's Wizarding World. I think probably has some sort of digital division. Warner Brothers, I guess.
Warner Brothers, isn't it?
And maybe Portkey Games. That feels like the sort of Wizarding World gaming division.
Yeah, that sounds. Well, Warner Brothers made Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, didn't they?
Very good games.
Very good games.
Although sometimes with features that are a little bit.
I tell you what. If it plays like Shadow of War, I'm in.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you should say that. So something that worries me from what I've seen is that it falls into a very common RPG trap, which is numbers flying out of heads. I don't know if numbers actually fly out of heads, but it's the same. It's that principle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you shoot a stunning spell at someone and it just does like an amount of damage.
That's 17 blue damage.
Yeah, and I'm like, hang on, it's a stunning spell, and that's not. Well, from what I can tell, it's not a giant or a dragon. It's just a dude. Why are they not down? That sort of thing I would hate. If the combat's still enjoyable, I can probably live with it. But yeah, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how you could get around that in a video game without fundamentally ignoring game balance. And the answer might be that you fundamentally ignore game balance.
That is the answer. I feel we have discussed doing something like that before.
Or, how's this for an idea? What you do is you introduce a mechanic called balance or poise. And what you're looking to do is reduce someone's balance to 0 such that your next spell gets through their defenses.
As in, how a proper duel would work.
Yeah, exactly. So you're trying to knock them off balance, or you can do spells that...
But maybe that's sort of the implied thing here, is that the reason you're only doing certain damage is because there's an element of blocking going on or whatnot.
Yeah, but I think you almost need to make that something that you actively engage with.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's how you get around it. I quite like this mechanic. I might try and write it down. I don't know why, just for interest. But you could have things where you could have, like, say, a jelly legs jinx, right? And it might be that actually that's really difficult to block. So you don't bother blocking it and you let it through. And then you cast something at your opponent that massively lowers their poise such that they're going to struggle to get a spell back to you. And you actually dispel the jelly legs rather than like casting another spell.
This is something that I've thought about previously, is that, Finite Incantatem is arguably one of the most powerful spells ever, right? Because there's nothing to suggest that it can't stop any kind of magic.
I've not seen it, no.
So
I want to be able...
Could you block the killing curse by just casting finito. That would be really funny.
No, you couldn't. Don't be stupid.
But you've got the wrong end of the stick on the Unforgivable Curses anyway.
True. I want to be able to do the Dumbledore Voldemort duel from Order of the Phoenix.
It's so hard to do that in a game, though.
I know. I don't care. You're the one making a Harry Potter game. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to do a creative duel.
Yeah, okay. If it's multiplayer, yes, I think you should be able to code that in. But if it's against an AI, that's difficult.
Yeah, because an AI is never going to be able to.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm going to block and then shoot something at you. What I'm concerned about, and I've mentioned Unforgivable Curses, and I think we can talk about them a little bit. What I'm concerned about is that, say that your most potent defense against the dark arts spell is Stupefy, right? Because that seems to be the case in the books anyway. And Stupefy does, let's say, 50 damage. And you have to throw 3 of them or something at an opponent. Okay, gameplay mechanic, fair enough. If that's what they went for, that's what they went for. Now you have the Killing Curse, famously unblockable, although that's wrong. Famously a one-hit kill unless you're Harry Potter. So if you're in a fight, you're like, well, why would I bother stupefying everyone when I can just Avada Kedavra them?
Because you'll go to jail forever.
You'll go to jail, but purely from a gameplay mechanic here, right? If they introduce the Killing Curse, and I know for a fact they have, it's in the game.
I hate that, but go on.
That's the thing, right? If it drives people to using it because it's just that much easier to win a fight, that's bad.
Is it?
I think so.
Well, I don't,
because you can also be a Dumbledore and not use the Killing Curse and still win all your fights effortlessly.
So, no, I don't think I agree with you from a whole raft of angles. Gameplay perspective, you've got to put a cost on the Killing Curse. I don't know what that cost would be. Maybe I don't know if there's going to be mana or anything like that. There better not be, but the Killing Curse could be.
I think, it's got like a long recharge time. I don't know how they're going to explain that, but it does.
It's entirely possible. So if I was balancing it from a mana perspective, it would do... The maximum mana would be 100. The Killing Curse would require 200 mana. So your mana bar has to recharge twice in order for you to be able to cast any other spell. Right? So 1-on-1, sure. Duel's over. 2-on-1, you're fucked. Just one potential way of balancing
my issue with
it.
that is I don't think that works from a lore perspective, because there's nothing to suggest that is the case.
No, because except you're a child, and all of these lore issues are fixed by you're a child, and it's a difficult spell, and it takes a lot out of you. But that's by the by.
But you're a child just doesn't work in the wizarding world anymore.
No, it does. Barty Crouch Jr. tells us that the Killing Curse requires a huge amount
because
of
they've never practiced it before. But you've seen Harry Potter go from not knowing how to do a stunning spell to casting like the most ridiculously powerful stunning spells in the space of a year when he's 14 years old.
Yeah, but we don't have any way of benchmarking what the power requirements are. There's a distinction between practice and power.
Perhaps, and I think with the Unforgivable Curses, the key thing is you really need to mean them. And I think when you're 14... your average person,
maybe
even when you're 35, your average person doesn't really know what it means to really want to kill someone. I mean,
or really want to hurt someone. Yeah. I always think that makes more sense, almost. Like, I want to cause pain for the sake of causing pain. The other way you could balance it from a gameplay perspective is if anyone ever sees you casting the Killing Curse, game over. Reload your save.
But that I think is complicated, right? Because if
turn it into GTA, you immediately go to 5-star wanted and the tanks roll in.
Yeah, okay, so fine. But then what if you happen to cast Incendio at someone? Or like all these spells that you supposedly learn defense against the dark arts that are still going to kill you?
4 stars.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a way of building.
So what you want is GTA with a 15-year-old main character?
No, I don't, because I don't want to put Avada Kedavra in the game. But if it's going in the game, these are ways.
It has to be in the game because it's a well-known spell.
I don't think it has to be in the game at all.
It has to be in the world at least. I'm not saying the character necessarily.
The spell has to exist. I agree.
But the game has to give you the choice.
No, it doesn't.
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't. That's
It
a
100% does.
fundamentally terrible idea.
They are the most important curses in the whole franchise.
No, they're not.
Of course they are.
Oh,
Because they're the easiest in terms of like, oh, this is obviously evil.
It depends how you define important. If you want to talk about them as a corruptive influence, then I agree with you. That's the other way you do it. You create a subcategory of magic called dark magic, and you essentially go down the Dresden Files route, and you make dark magic inherently corruptive. And so it's like the more you use it, the easier it becomes, but the harder it becomes to do anything that's not dark magic. And people react to it badly and stuff like that.
I think that's right. But then what I'm hoping for is that they give that it's I don't know. I want to see it balanced, but I don't really know how.
I don't want it to be balanced. I think the balance exists in the player's head.
No, I mean balance in terms of if you're going to be the quote unquote good person, then I don't want the game to feel like it's hamstringing you.
I do
because you're doing that.
I do.
No, I do because I think that fundamentally sends out the wrong message. I don't think being able to cast the Killing Curse makes your life any easier ultimately.
But no,
but again, maybe I just don't want a game where the vast majority of the gameplay loop is me just blasting creatures.
Then don't do that.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that is the game. If that is the game, I think that'd be disappointing.
No, sorry. If the core gameplay loop is go to Forbidden Forest, kill 20 goblins, return to castle. Go to Forbidden Forest, kill 20 goblins, return. Like you've made a bad Harry Potter game. But I do want a game, I think, where the biggest blocker on using the unforgivable curses is me, the player. If you're going to put them in the game and they're going to be castable by the character, then it should be my morality that stops me from using them. And the game shouldn't be easier because I use them. The game shouldn't be... No, sorry. The game shouldn't be any easier if I don't use them. Right? I shouldn't get power boosts to my good aligned spells, because that's not how being good works.
No, it should just be a choice. Yeah, morality choice. I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely right. But that's what I'm saying. I feel... My fear on this, and I've got nothing to base it on, but my fear on this is that they're going to dangle it in front of you to tempt you by saying, "Oh, this will make it easier." And if it genuinely does make it easier, I'd be disappointed.
It makes it easier to
just make a choice. Like, am I a good person or a bad person?
It makes it easier to solve individual problems. If the problem in front of you is,
I think it takes the focus off of some of the other stuff, because then if the game frames it as an important choice, right? Okay, here you could learn the Killing Curse, and it will make your fights much easier, but you'll be a bad person.
Yeah.
What I don't want is that's the choice, right? Where you're going to be thrown into battles and you have to fight people anyway. I'd like to see them expand on that by saying, well, actually, really good wizard would probably not want to be in many fights.
Okay, I see.
Somehow avoid them, right? You're not just making a decision between, oh, this will make my fight easier, this will make my fight hard. I don't want to be in the fight.
Yeah, you want no. That's fine. I agree with that. I'm completely on board with that. But I do want the choice to be: you're going to be in some fights. This spell makes ending them easy.
Yeah,
and that's the choice. That's the complete choice right there. Because I think that's fun. I think that's how being good works. You don't get rewarded for being good. The reward for being good is that you're a good person. That's it.
Yeah, no, quite. The reward for being skillful is something
that's else. A different question. That's
why I really want to see Dumbledore's, Order of the Phoenix spell, where he just somehow immobilizes every single Death Eater and makes sure they can't apparate.
Yeah.
Like, what is that spell? I want that spell.
Why doesn't everyone know that spell?
I know. It makes loads. I bet Dumbledore sometimes walks around going, like, why is everyone shooting stunning spells at each other? Like, guys,
I can freeze everyone in a room. What else? All right. What else? We've had our unforgivable curses debate. What else?
What do we want from the game?
Really honestly, tragic teen romance.
Not necessarily here for that so much, but
I think that'd be really funny to put in a game.
Yeah, but it's also really quite awkward.
Yeah.
When you're a 32-year-old,
you've just reframed this. Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I don't want that. I was
my
thinking,
15-year-old character has got the date of his life. Yeah.
yeah, no, all right, point made.
Quidditch, though, I would like to see. I don't think it's in, but I'd like to see it.
No, I can see a lot of reasons. It's such an impossible game to design.
I know, but that's why I
It
want to see
makes
it.
no sense.
That was in the old school Harry Potter games.
Yeah, but it wasn't very good.
Oh, it was great because of that.
You just had to fly through rings.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the whole game was flying through rings. And if you failed to fly through the rings, it was game over because the game required you to win the game, the Quidditch match.
Yeah. Okay, so what else do I want? I want...
Robes. Sorry,
robes.
this is just random, but I want everyone to be wearing robes.
No,
I don't want
sure.
fucking school uniforms.
I also want maybe, like, the one character from Slytherin doesn't have to be the evil dark arts guy, right? Let it be someone from Hufflepuff, maybe. Or not even have anyone like that. I want the house stereotypes to work, but to not be so stereotypical. So good luck with that.
Horace Slughorn was in Slytherin.
Yes,
and that's the model of Slytherin that I want. I want like someone who's ruthlessly ambitious but fundamentally a good person. Or you can't be ruthlessly ambitious and fundamentally a good person, but like not just a raving Death Eater. Just like wildly self-centered and ambitious.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't need a 16-year-old kid to be like, do you want to learn Avada Kedavra?
Exactly. The ambition doesn't always have to be, I want to be the ruler of the world.
No, because that's not Slughorn's ambition. Slughorn's ambition is to know all the important people and to cultivate relationships.
And therefore be the ruler of the world in the background.
Well, yes and no. It always takes my art, I suppose.
Exactly. Fuck.
Damn,
doing so well.
I might have to reevaluate Horace Slughorn.
Secretly the evil mastermind behind the whole thing.
I also want a robust character builder.
Oh, that's critical. That's the only thing you could claim distinguishes a genuine RPG anymore.
A robust character builder.
Yeah. I'm putting it out there.
I'm trying
the only thing that makes a video game an RPG nowadays is a character builder.
I feel like there are RPGs that don't have character builders.
Name one.
I can't. But I don't think that makes the statement untrue.
It does. This is the playground rules. You can't back up your point with an example that you have like 2 seconds to think about.
An example that I can defend.
And you were wrong.
Well,
and therefore I win today's episode. Well, thank you for listening, everyone.
Isn't Old Man God of War an RPG? It's an action RPG. Isn't it an action RPG?
No, it's just an action game. Not a role-playing game.
I
know I started this off by saying every game is a role-playing game.
Every game is a role-playing game except for God of War.
If it's got a character builder, it's an RPG. If it's not got it, it's just a game.
We're going to need to have a debate on genre definitions.
I know, because it's something dear to your heart, and I just know that you're going to be so wrong about so many things.
I'm going to be really wrong about everything, and it's going to be great. I'm rereading the blurb. What is Hogwarts Legacy? I don't know what I want. I want to feel like I'm in the Harry Potter world, but I don't want to be hit over the head with references to Grindelwald and Salazar Slytherin and Godric Gryffindor and all of that. I want the world to feel real.
Yeah, but I think that's why the time setting is.
I think that you're right. That's why the time setting is what it is.
I don't know. I want some slightly like banal things, like I don't really know how you do it. Like, it's not.
I want to have to go to class.
I want to have to go to class and have to go to the library to learn some of the stuff that you want to learn.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want the game to assume that because I've read Harry Potter and I've watched some of the stuff that I know that, Stupefy exists as a spell.
I think that's right. I want to feel. This might be tragically betraying my age. I want to feel like a 15-year-old kid at school. In a way. In a lot of ways I don't, because that was awful.
Yeah, I also didn't learn all that much.
I also didn't learn. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, we're just geniuses. That's our issue fundamentally.
True.
We want the game to be hard.
That's true. I do want the game to be hard,
but hard for like realistic reasons, not. Oh, you're fighting a massive dragon because that's difficult. No, I want the obstacles to sometimes be just really mundane. It's like, oh, you have to do this exam and you don't know 5 of the spells. Oh, shit.
Like a high ledge or something.
Exactly,
and the box to get up there is really heavy.
Stuff like that. But, I'm just hoping for something immersive, something that isn't just blasting different kinds of things with spells.
Yeah, solid gameplay loop. I think fundamentally what I'm looking for is a really, really tight, solid gameplay loop that doesn't require me to go out and farm 6 plant monsters in the Forbidden Forest to progress.
Yeah.
I think go around the castle, talk to people, gather information, learn, progress.
Yeah. I think that's right, and I think that's sort of the point I was trying to make earlier. Like, okay, I don't want to have the choice of either you're going to use the Killing Curse or you're going to use Stupefy, because otherwise you're not getting anywhere. That to me is a choice, right? I want other ways of problem solving.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think I'm completely on board with that.
Because that I feel in the books is that's sort of what it came down to Dumbledore aside, right? Is that you either were shooting green spells at each other or you were shooting red spells.
Yeah, that's certainly what it is by... Sorry, I've dropped my fidget tool. That's certainly what it is by the end of sort of Deathly Hallows.
And like I sort of get it. If you're
red team versus the green. Also, somewhat on the nose, right? Red team Gryffindor, green team Slytherin.
Absolutely. And then Expelliarmus, the white spell, because, that's so pure. Oh. There's some underlying racism for you. You thought we got through this without a howler on my end? No, sir. I forgot what I was. No, I think it makes sense towards the end, right? If you're a 16-year-old boy and someone is shooting killing curses at you, I think it's not an unreasonable response to just fire the
strongest thing you can do back. Yeah,
but I think if you're a McGonagall and a Snape dueling, or a Dumbledore and a Voldemort, like there's more flair to it, right?
Let's be fair.
You have to kill the other person, but trap them in a gold statue. Why not? That's cool.
Let's be fair. The McGonagall Snape Flitwick
and Sprout
duel. No one fires a killing curse. No one fires Stupefy.
Yeah, it's great.
They enchant daggers, which turn to snakes, which turn to smoke, which tries to strangle you. Like that's a really.
Let's not kid ourselves. McGonagall tries to kill Snape. She throws 3 knives at him.
Yeah. She tries to kill him, but she doesn't use Avada Kedavra to do it.
Exactly. But I sometimes wonder, is that just a legal loophole? You're allowed to kill someone else as long as you throw the knives with the magic, not just use the killing curse.
I think the point there is, if you use Avada Kedavra, you go to Azkaban. No questions. No defenses. No nothing. If you enchant knives to kill Snape, you probably still end up in front of the Wizengamot.
Yes.
But you get to make your case. I guess that's
unless
the difference.
You're in the Order of the Phoenix, then kill whatever you want. It's all good.
Well, at that point, it's don't get caught.
Well, Right? But that's kind of the law in the wizarding world, anyways, right? As long
That's
as you don't
the
get
law
caught, you're all good.
everywhere. Let's be clear. That's the law everywhere.
The crime scene investigation, I think, leaves something to be desired.
Well, yeah, you've got to find the wand so you can use priori and contempt.
Exactly. But couldn't anyone have used this wand? No.
No, it's mine.
Obviously not.
But we know that wands work. Shut up! Go to jail.
Go to jail.
I want go to jail to be like a valid end game. Right? If you're going to put the unforgivable curses in the game, I want it to be possible for your character to lose by going to jail.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to put them in the game, put consequences in the game.
You know what I really don't want?
I dread to think.
Is someone like Dumbledore or Hermione showing up, having used a time turner.
Oh.
I feel that that's sort of shit that they might just do. To be like, oh, look, we managed to get Dumbledore in here anyway.
You didn't expect him.
So yes.
I'm Albus Dumbledore, and I've come here from 200 years in the future to tell you, fuck off.
Fuck off. Yeah, this is the key to your problems. This is the solution, because the only person who can ever solve any problems in the Wizarding world is Albus Dumbledore.
And I only know this because you've already solved it.
Yeah. Good. Well, I feel I've sufficiently broken you
Hogwarts Legacy for me. I now can't play it. You realise? For the fear that might happen.
Oh yes, I've ruined it for you.
You've preemptively ruined it for me.
I'm really quite happy with that, actually.
I think I've got to bring us to a close here, unless there's anything else.
That I can't top that, even if I tried.
All right. I think all that remains then is to say thank you for listening to this episode of Expertise is Overrated. No doubt we've said some things that were either objectively wrong or downright offensive. As ever, feel free to let us know. Rate the podcast and leave us a comment, or drop us an email at expertisesoverrated@gmail.com. Tweet us at @zeroexpertise. Check out our website, expertisesoverrated.podbean.com, or come join us on our Discord server.
If you're lucky, we might just argue with you in one of our upcoming episodes. If you're really lucky, we might call you an idiot. Come back next time for some more absolute nonsense.